Therefore, Satan has set up all the financial systems. It is based on a scam, and it's probably the biggest scam of all. When you run out of money, have you considered going to your PC, putting some good quality paper in, and printing some new money? You haven't, have you? Because they would lock you up. But that is what the banks do. So the banks are really the burglar in your home. The Federal Reserve Bank and the Bank of England are private institutions set up with the sole aim of impoverishing everyone. Legalized counterfeiting is what is done. Once upon a time, the paper money was backed by gold. Now the paper money is backed by nothing. And apparently in the United States, the American government doesn't even worry to print it. It gets somebody else to print it and then pays them rent. Can you imagine it? Paying rent for these little bits of paper. It's absurd. For this reason, the meetings held by these banks are always in secret. Of course they have to be in secret. If the average person understood what was going on, there would be widespread unrest and lynching and civil war and everything else. The Federal Reserve have not provided balanced books since the early 1970s. You be self-employed and see if they don't come and demand that by the spring, around April in the UK, you don't supply completely, thoroughly up-to-date accounts. You'd be in trouble if you didn't supply them. In any case, if these banks did supply the accounts, who would be able to understand them? It would be the equivalent of speaking in tongues. Borrowing money can get you into all sorts of trouble. Loan sharks can charge you hundreds of % of interest. The banks do moderately better, 20–30% on the money they lend you. They can charge you exorbitantly if you are late in making a payment or you inadvertently overdraw your credit limit. And all of this is out of money made out of thin air. Literally nothing. Fiat money, that's what it's called. The people of Israel were forbidden to charge interest, known as usury, to their brethren. Today it makes no difference who you are. Massive interest is the order of the day. I know of Christians who actually own large banks. You have to question, can they really be Christians? Is not the whole monetary system satanic? There's several scriptures that deal with take no usury. Leviticus 25:36 says, "Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee." Verse 37, "Thou shalt not give him thy money upon usury, nor lend him thy victuals for increase." But in Deuteronomy 23:20 it says, "Unto a stranger you can do that." But I have to tell you, here interest is charged to any and everybody. Psalm 15:5 says, "He that putteth not out his money to usury, nor taketh reward against the innocent, he that doeth these things shall never be moved." Isn't that something? If you don't get involved in this, you will never be moved. Doesn't it follow that if you do these things, you will be moved? You will be subject to a rude awakening? Many people seem to be treated harsher in court for stealing large sums of money than for grievous bodily harm or killing someone by careless driving. Many young women are trafficked worldwide, often unwittingly, into prostitution. They have to pay back vast sums of money to their owners, the pimps, for the privilege of working for them. They are literally being destroyed to earn a pittance in order to survive, or if they are fortunate enough even to send back a pittance to their even worse off family. Absolutely everything is driven by money. War, drugs, legal and illegal. probably controlled by the very same people. These are all great money spinners. In war, weapons have to be replaced, whether they work or not. The bullet, the bomb, the aircraft carrier, the destroyed infrastructure, the water, gas, electricity, roads, bridges, homes, hospitals, industry, factories, buildings, all have to be rebuilt with borrowed money from the bank, who's quite happy to supply the money to let the destruction be carried out in the first place. The overall cost of these things I've mentioned is so astronomical as to make it quite inconceivable for the average mind to grasp these sums. And this, of course, is not including the human cost. And the American government has some great scams. Invade a foreign country for whatever reason, then import Americans to set up corrupt systems, to do any and everything in the country, which they have destroyed. Then pay the US businesses vast sums to impose these systems on the hapless people, and then siphon the money back off to the US companies. Often the work paid for is shoddy if it's done at all. And we constantly hear of billions and billions going missing, particularly in Iraq, which cannot be accounted for. And we hear that the organizations like Halliburton are directly linked to the American government, or members of the American government, or people who were members, and on it goes. We have these verses, we have quoted them before on our website. We say, Leviticus 26:17, and I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and you shall flee when none pursues you. So might it be that the very people we are locking up and torturing will become our rulers one day? Is that what that's telling us? They that hate you shall reign over you. Well, you wouldn't really want to fall into the hands of the people you tortured, would you? In Ezekiel 20:26, God says, all this is happening that I might make them desolate to the end, that they might know that I am the Lord. You see, Hip also said, you know, we have got to learn something. We have got to learn that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. That's Daniel 4:17. So what actually happens, God actually says that these base men can be set up over the kingdom. Yes, designer suit, flashy cars, aeroplanes, luxurious aeroplanes, and all the rest of it. But according to this, they're the basest of men. Let's just consider something. A conventional British billion is 1,000 times bigger than an American billion. This is one with 9 noughts behind it. If it was really your intention to do good with such vast sums of money, you could do a great deal. Since the Iraq War, many families who have lost their husbands have around £2 a month on which to live. Let us say that they got the figure wrong and increase it by a factor of 10. Could you live with 3 or 5 children on £20 a month? Prior to the war, these families were doing very nicely. There was nothing wrong with the size of their families. It is a war that deprived them of their husbands, their homes, their income, and often their children. This same sum of £1 billion is currently in the news as a British armament, the major British armament manufacturer, BAE, has paid a Saudi prince £1 billion in bribes in order to purchase British fighter aircraft.